Masechet Menahot Daf Pedal Amud Aleph 11 lines down. Tanan Hatam. We mentioned the Mishnah Shomrei Sefihin B'Shva'it. The people who would watch the growths in the Shemitah year, meaning that they would check if it was growing correctly during Shemitah to make sure you could use it for the upcoming Omer. Notlin Secharam Mitrumat Alishka, they would get paid from the community treasury of the Beit HaMikdash. I have a question. Stira says, our Mishnah. So that Mishnah, sorry, Shemar B'Svehim B'Shvizatin Mitshkanim Mitnashka, Minu Vistira, Le'ochlav Le'le Sefa. Mishnah says from Mishnah quotes a pasuk, Berata quotes a pasuk that says, and when Torah says it should be yours to eat, not for burning. Now the comments of an Omer is burnt. So how can we say Shemitah can be used as an Omer? The Gemara says, Amar Le, L'chamna Amar Lach T'dorotechem. As for future generations, Ba'at Amarti Bata, you're saying it should be canceled? What does that mean? The Gemara says no. Amalei says no. We can't mean it. I didn't say it should be canceled. We have to do the Omer. Elaiti made the Eshtaket, bring Shemitah barley from the previous year, not the upcoming year, new year, from the Shemitah year. The Gemara says, Ba'ina Karmel, we need fresh. Beleka. It's not going to be fresh if it's from last year. The Gemara says, if let's do the Karmel Dashka, yeah, bring fresher from this year, from the previous year. The Gemara says, Amar Krab, Karmel Takrif, bring fresh kernels. Ba'ina Karmel Dushat HaKarmel, Beleka, there's no fresh kernels at this time. Therefore, you have to bring from the current year. Itmar. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says, "Kamat Takri, bring fresh." Rabbi Elazar Amar, Rabbi Elazar says, "Reshit kisi rechem, Reshit kisi rechem, v'lo sut kisi rechem." Beginning of your harvest, not the end. Matir Bar, his question: The im takri minhat v'kurim. The Torah says when you bring them and have your first grains, minhat ha'omer aklimit ber. Pasuk is talking about omer mincha. Me'er chiniva, where are you bringing from? Min asarim, from the barley. Atam min asarim, maybe who says barley? Or in the maybe it's wheat. Rabbi Elazar says no. Neymar Aviv b'Mitzrayim mentions Aviv by Mitzrayim. I'm keep on mentioning Mitzrayim now, Ben Pesach, which means Neymar Aviv Torah also mentions Aviv when it talks about the Omer for future generations. Ma Aviv Amor Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim like by barley. We used there was barley talking about by the word Aviv Mitzrayim when Ahel was hitting it. Aviv Amor B'Dorot Einaba Mitzrayim. So to the right mentioned by the Aviv by generations also refers to barley by the Omer. Okay, I'll tell you somewhere else. We find a personal korban that's brought minha by wheat. But he could also bring it from barley. So the community also should bring barley, wheat, minha. The Gemara says, but he also should bring barley. I say if you're doing wheat, we don't find the community bringing barley. Therefore, it must be barley. Explanation. You want to say that the Omer comes from wheat, and it turns out that the shtei lechem is not the first fruits, because that would be the Omer was it. Therefore, it has to be the Omer, something else like barley. Alma mishum bikurim must be the reason why the shtei lechem must come from wheat is because they're considered the first fruits or the first crop. Do you have a question against Rabbi Yochanan? Okay. Tanat Mishnah says, "En mevi'in bikurim hus mishavat meim." We don't bring the first fruits except for the seven species, right? As we know, wheat, barley, grape, fig, pomegranate, olive, and dates. And velo, we don't bring them mitmarim shebaharim. We don't bring them from mountain dates, which are not as sweet. We love it not from grain that comes from the valleys because it's not such high quality. Marula said, if you did bring it, it doesn't count. Azir He was repeating it. It's a question. Korban or Reshit mentions your first fruit korban. Shter Reshit lachom menachot to be your first of all the fruit crops for mencha. V'chem another pasuk says, "Ba'akri v'chem mencha chadasha Hashem b'shvuotechem." Any other hadashah melchitim, I only know from the new crop of wheat. Hadashah melchitim, I know from the new crop of barley. The Marshal Talmud Mar hadashah. New twice. He made only hadashah. Now he can't. We already know that for wheat. Everyone's teaching you new crop of barley. When I should take the bikurim, I know that has to come before the bikurim. I know the shtei has to come before bikurim. Talmud Mar v'chag shavuot ased lecha bikurei kesir hitim. And the ella bikurei hitim. I know from there. كثير سأولين I know from barley. مرس تمض معه وحاجة كثير بيكوري مع سيخة شرط زراعة بسداء. فإني ألا بشتزرع I only know from here that it has to be planted. علو عملين and I know that it grew by itself also. From the mar بسداء it's mentioned in the field. لأني بسداء I know from the field. يعني لابد شبكة وشبكة حربة وشعاسيس وشسمينا I know to include crops that grew on a roof or in a abandoned building, abandoned field, or in a flower pot, or in a boat. Tamamar bikure kol asher ba'atzam, anywhere in your land. Minan shtei kodim and nesachim perot I know that the shtei lechem should come before the new wine nesachim and the first fruit of the tree. The markam bikure ma'asecha v'nemar ba'os bechad ma'asecha minan seder. The Sheva ma'alam nesachim perot blemish like over there refers to the Sukkot wine, and then Nesachim and the first fruits when the labor. Afkan Nesachim do as well. Therefore, we see nothing can come before Shelachem. Tanami, we see from here regardless. Shebegag v'shachabat shebasis shebasfina. We see the Torah Braita said that the Shelachem has to come from even before fruits that grew on a roof or abandoned field or in a flower pot or in a boat. Seemingly, that even in these non-good places. So how come you can't use the grain from the valley or the grapes or the dates that came from the mountains? The Gemara says, "Seifa atal menachot," over there. Someone case of menacha of a mincha. Matkis ravacha v'ada rava. Is the case. Not to much alechem only mincha. Hainati. That's what the pasuk says. Kol tahor bevet echad yochal oto. The menachot is referring to you saying any tahor person can eat it. You saw menachot. The Zichrei Kahuna who the only the male Kohanim can be feed, not everybody. The Gemara says, Amar Pshashia, today collectivities, two different psukim. Lechai, yeah, and first fruits should be for you, the Kohanim. Fine. Uktiv, another pasuk says, Kol tahor b'veichai v'chal to any tahor person can eat it. What does that mean? Hakesar, kan b'kurim, regarding the bikurim, that's referring to anybody in the Kohen house. Kan menachot, when it says only male Kohanim, that's referring to the mincha. Rashi says, Kula menachot, no, it's all mencha. The Sefer declared, the second part of the Baita, the pasuk rather is talking about the mincha is referring to the breads of the Torah that can be eaten by his family as well. We've looked at another mahoket. Rabbi Yochanan says, if you put these inferior bikurim like the valley grain or the mountain dates, that's not kadosh. He did bring it is kadosh. Now it's like the same way if the person brings like a weak, lean, thin animal as a korban. It's not nice, but it still counts. Because he said it. How come Yochanan says it loud? Why doesn't it count like a bad animal, a bad quality animal? The Gemara says, I saw Yochanan dream. Therefore I know I'll say something good. Yani, I have a good omen. It says, sheet from the first. She's not everything. From your land, meaning it says you have to bring from your land and from your first fruits, teaching you that it has to be from the choicest. And if it's not from the choicest, it's not good at all. Okay, what does he do with that pasuk? Maybe like that he's fine. Neymar kan Eretz mentioned by the word Bikurim land. Neymar was mentioned by the Eretz land. Malan Shvach over there is referring to the praiseworthy part of the land. African too as well. And how come? Yochanan learns it from the word me'eretz. Okay. V'idach me'eretz me'eretz, he says, no, it's not a good proof of Gzer Shavah from Eretz me'eretz. Then I had the Amr said, crops that grew in a roof or abandoned building or in a flower pot or in a boat, maybe you can count it as bikurim and say the besukim. But then Ita Rosa says, maybe any bring it, but doesn't count as the right, therefore you can't say besukim. Gag between the roofs. Had the gag I'm once referring to the roof of a cave, which is basically regular land. How did God divide them? In the second case, where it doesn't count, is where it's on top of a house. That's not a good normal place where you grow fruits. Also, the case of the ruins is not a question. First person case where it's a abandoned, well cultivated field. That's why you could do it. The ways you can't do it is where it's not a good cultivated field. Also, the flower pot's not a stira. In the first person case where there's a hole in the bottom of the pot of the flower pot because then it's connected to the ground. The second part is someone case where it's not no hole, therefore it's not connected to the ground. That's why no bracha. Also, the boat's not a question. First case, second case, someone a case of a wooden boat. And conscious in the first part, someone a case of an earthenware boat. Earthenware boat's more compared to like part of the land because it's connected to the ground like a flower pot. Okay. According to Yochanan, how does he explain himself? He says it will never work. And he's machok zamein. Tanner it says shebagav shabram meviu koresh. Shebeyasis from zivna enam meviu kakar. Yochanan holds like this breita. Okay, and last part Mishnah said, "Bikulan inav outmin v'char." You can only bring from the choicest flowers, a flower from Mincha. Amr Yochanan and Mamre, the Egyptian sorcerers, told Moshe when he was making these miracles. Isn't it unbelievable? We're talking about the miracles, the sorcerers that were talking to Moshe when Moshe came to tell Paro he did the miracles. The sorcerers that were countering him, they told Moshe, "Tevin atam achnis le'Afraim." You're doing magic in Mitzrayim. That's the equivalent of bringing grain to Aphraim, which was known for their grain. He said to him, ancient people say, Lemata Yarka, in a place of vegetables, Yarka should call, go take your vegetables to sell. Meaning, there is an advantage to bring what the people are known for, bringing that to that location. Yes, if you know this place is known for the vegetables, bring your vegetables to sell there because people are ready to accept those vegetables. People are ready to buy vegetables nowadays. People go to that place to buy vegetables. So that's why I'm bringing my magic here because you guys are well versed in magic. You'll know that this is from God and not from me. Okay, new Mishnah. Nice way to say that. En mevi'in lo mebet hazelim. We don't bring grain from a fertilized field. Lo mebet hazeshachim, not from irrigated field. Lo mebet elan, not from a field of trees. If he did bring it, kasher is kasher, even though it wasn't supposed to. Kesado said, what are you supposed to do? Nara Shana B'Rishona, you're supposed to plow your first year without planting. But B'Shana Shniya Zorah, then you plant the second year. Couldn't Pesach Shinyon 70 days before Pesach. And then Bu'al says Sod Mirba, that will make a lot of good flour, fine flour. Ketzav Bodek, how do you check if it's good flour? Hagizbar Mechnitzit L'Tuchal, the treasurer of the Bet Midrash, he sticks his hand inside of it. Allah ba'avak, if any dust comes up in his hand, Peslah Shem, you have to re-sift the whole thing again in order to make it kasher. The Mitli'ah Peslah, if it's any worms, the whole thing's pasul forever. Baruch Hashem, men.